Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names, kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you. Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show where tonight we shed the spotlight on an up-and-coming filmmaker. This is something I'm long overdue to do. And, in this show's history, I've talked about tons of directors that are known as the greats, are known as the best of all time, and known as legends. And tonight I said, instead, why don't I shine light on an up-and-comer, on somebody that hasn't gotten the amount of word of mouth that a George Romero has had, or a Wes Craven, or a John Carpenter, or a Dario Argento, respectively. I figured we shine some spotlight on an up-and-comer and Colin Minihan. Yes, Colin Minihan tonight. We will go through his entire filmography. We have 4 wonderful horror films to discuss. We've got a Paranormal Activity shot on video movie, we have a alien movie, we have a zombie movie, and last but not least, we have a sort of romantic breakup horror movie about the deconstruction of a same-sex couple. So I'm very excited tonight here at Grande's Graveyard to talk all things Colin Minihan and his wonderful horror movies and shine a little bit of light. So I'm very excited. We got a bunch of people in the house. Missy is here. Ciao, Grande and friends. And speaking of saying the word ciao, Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande and friends. Hi to the graveyard, here to learn tonight. Dude, absolutely, man. I'm excited. And the beauty of these 4 movies is that all 4 of them are free to watch. I believe almost all 4 are on Tubi. I'm next to positive all 4 are on Tubi. And if they're not on Tubi, they're definitely watchable on Netflix or YouTube. They're definitely accessible. I didn't have to spend a dime to watch any of these movies. And I would like to add them actually all to my collection. But honestly, I've been spending a little too much lately. I went a little crazy with that Sleepaway Camp Fright Rags thing. So I've got to hit the brakes on my spending. It was payday today. I've got to put some in the pay window, if you will. I got to save it in the bank so I can be rich later, if you will. That's what you got to do. You got to save the money. You got to be smart. And when you spend a lot of money on Sleepaway Camp apparel, you just don't do these things very smartly. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm very excited to discuss these movies here tonight. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. He just reached 200,000 views. What's up, Graveyard Crew? Well, Sean, welcome, man. Hope all's well with you. Congratulations on the milestone. Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. Well, I don't know, that's Bruce Campbell, but that's AJ Zitro in the house. Welcome, my friend. Hope all's well with you. The topic was a good idea because I'm still not very familiar with this guy's work. Yeah, I figured, I was like, you know what? Let us shine a light on somebody that's less talked about, an up-and-comer that does something different every single time out. And that's like what gravitates me most towards up-and-comers. I look at James Wan as a perfect example. Like, he did Saw, and he easily could have rode that Saw train till it came off the rails, 6 years later. And instead, he decided, hey, I'll executive produce. I'll make my money from Saw, but I want to do new and creative things. He did A Dead Silence, which is a puppet movie. He did Death Sentence, which is like a revenge death wish type of film with Kevin Bacon that is severely underrated. Then he goes to Insidious. Then he does the old school classic haunted house horror movie in The Conjuring. Then he goes to an Aquaman, a Fast and Furious. Every single time out, James Wan seems to do something different. And I look at Colin Minihan that way. I look at Colin Minihan as a very much more lower budget type of filmmaker that every single time out, like tonight, we've got a ghost movie shot on video, we've got an alien movie, a zombie movie, and a breakup horror movie. So every single time he's throwing out something different, and I really appreciate that. That's what I look for. As being a new school horror fan, a fan of the up-and-comers, I like to see directors try different things every single time out, because if you're just the slasher guy, that's exactly what you are. You're just the slasher guy. You become one note. You become typecasted. Look what happened to a Tom Six. Look what happened to the guys that did Serbian film. They're typecasted. Nobody's giving a shit about what they want to do next or what they have in mind for their artistic palette. They just want them to do the same thing over and over again. I respect the guy in Colin Minihan that even though he's never really had a big budget to work with, every single time he tries to do something new and creative. And I really admire that. And that's what I look at and I look for. I've seen It Stains the Sands Red, and I think that's it so far. So cool. Okay, cool. We have 3 new ones out of 4. That is not bad. That is true. He did. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Slasher Fred. This is an example of a music video director that does good work and actually has done some good things. Unlike the guy that directed the Amityville Horror remake, unlike the guy that directed the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, Samuel Bayer Ass. Yes, I'm looking at you, buddy. People saying hi to one another. AJ says hello all, so that's very nice. Thank you for 200K. Dude, congratulations, man. Very, very well earned. What's your favorite movies? So we got to keep Grande a happy camper. Well, I'm a happy camper. We're happy campers till we die. All right. That's it. So everybody, I don't have anything to hold up. I don't have any water bottle here. I actually drank before we went live. But cheers. Cheers to another wonderful Thursday night and a happy Friday tomorrow. And we will get right underway with our first film of the evening, of course, from the year 2011, where Colin Minihan made his debut as a synonym, a actual tag team as synonym, not cinnamon, synonym in The Vicious Brothers. That's right. His debut was under the director alias of The Vicious Brothers, which in my opinion sounds like a 1990s WWF tag team. It's just so funny. Like, The Vicious Brothers, we're coming to face the Hart Foundation. It's so fucking goofy that they actually use that synonym. Like, it sounds like a joke to me, but they really use that. It says directed by The Vicious Brothers to this day. It's the only time they would ever use that. And it was here, of course, Colin Minihan and Stuart Ortiz directed this film from 2011. This is Grave Encounters. Yes, Grave Encounters. For their ghost hunting reality show, a production crew locks themselves inside an abandoned mental hospital that's supposedly haunted, and it might prove to be all too true. Yes, Grave Encounters. Now, this is a movie. I think when it dropped, it had pretty good buzz. Like, it was one of those movies that I remember people were buying like crazy at Walmart. And then in the early days of Netflix, I remember it was on Netflix, and I believe that's where I watched it. It was around 2012, 2013. That was the era I actually had Netflix, when it was like in its infancy of streaming and stuff like that. And just after the days of when they would ship the discs to your house and shit like that. But that's where I encountered Grave Encounters, if you will. And honestly, I thought it was fantastic. I really thought it was fantastic, even the first time I watched it. And it struck more of a nerve in me than Paranormal Activity did just a few short years before this. Of course, Paranormal Activity had come out. It was made and completed in 07. It comes out and just struck a nerve in the community in 2009. And whether you love that movie or you hate that movie, again, it struck a nerve. It got people. And it made a lot of people make imitations, and that's what I always look for in the genre. I mean, it's a monkey see monkey do business. As I've said once, I've said it again, I'll say it right now. It's a monkey see monkey do business. And Grave Encounters in a lot of ways was a type of ripoff of that. However, they also ripped off something in like the Blair Witch Project with its style. And then, of course, making fun of and parodying the ghost expert shows, whether it be Ghost Hunters or, the real ghost stories of whatever town you're in. We've all seen these bad reality ghost shows out there. And this, in a lot of ways, is poking fun at that in its first half hour. We have this crew here of these 4 people. Of course, the lead played by Sean Rogerson, and he's just great in this movie. I really like Sean Rogerson. He just really sells the idea of being like this big douchebag, reality TV show host. I'm Lance Preston, and this is Grave Encounters. I mean, it's very generic, but it's purposely that way. Of course, you have his side people. There's Matt, there's the one chick, and his entire crew, and they are trying to become a hit on television. Of course, every place they go to, though, it's a gigantic cock tease, just like every ghost show. They build it up. Oh, this is the room where 50 murders happen. And then they go to the thing and, oh my God, did you hear the door move? Oh my God, did you see that speck of light or dust? It just really, that's what ghost shows are. Ghost hunting shows are a gigantic cock tease. They build you up, butter you up, and they let you down. They make you stand up, and then they make you sit down in disappointment. That's what a lot of them are. But this is the idea of, okay, this struggling crew that want to make a hit reality TV show that go to an abandoned mental hospital that, unfortunately for them, is real, and all of the things that they want to see and want to capture on camera, the spooky crawlies and ghosts of the world, start to kind of conjure and attack them one by one. And I thought this was a great idea for a horror movie. I really did. Like, this is something to me too that, like, I will say this, like, people have said I'm cynical, and you could say that if you want to. I think in some cases you're probably right. There's certain horror movies that I just don't care for that just seem to get a lot of love, and maybe it is me being cynical. I don't know. I'm always trying to be fair and honest, but if I turn the other cheek, I turn the other cheek. It happens. I'm only human, right? There's going to be things I love, hate, and somewhere in the middle. And Grave Encounters is one of those movies that I think for a less cynical horror fan, they could really get into a movie like this. It's very much more comfort horror, where it's just a 90-minute movie, a bunch of people in an abandoned mental asylum, shot on video, and getting scared by all of these ghosts and shit like that. And I think it's simple yet effective. I really like this movie on its own 2 legs. I think while it's being a parody of all these ghost hunter shows and poking fun at them, when shit gets serious, it gets serious. And tonally, this movie really works for me. All the performances I think are really good. I really like a lot of the scare sequences done by Colin Minihan in this. Of course, this was his first time director, and alongside Stuart Ortiz, who is his vicious brother in crime. They directed this movie, and I think they did a really good job. Now, this is not in the vein of a Blair Witch when you're coming in contact with a found footage movie that doesn't show you anything. I know a lot of people, they bitch, moan, groan, complain. A lot of found footage movies, they don't show you anything. They don't have the money to show you anything. They don't throw anything at the camera. It's all suggested. I hate that. I want to see things. If you want to see things, if you want to watch a found footage horror movie that you see things, this is the movie for you. You see every single ghost in from head to toe. You see every single demon scream and things like that. You see it in all its glory. They do really not leave much up to your imagination. And, usually that wouldn't work. And I know there are some people that have bashed the effects of this movie, but I thought they worked. I really thought the effect work worked in this movie. And I can even show you guys maybe if they have a, special makeup effect here. Yeah, this is not a great example, the one I was going to click, but like they have these demon guys running at you like that. I know I remember at the time people were making fun of it and doing the, filters of it on Facebook and what have you, people making fun of this movie. I totally understand if it's not your bag, it's not your cup of tea, but I thought the setup was really good. Like they take you through this entire abandoned hospital and you go room to room. Oh, in this room, this woman cut her wrists over the bathtub. In this room, they had this crazy, scientist that would experiment on people's brains and turn them into vegetables and things like that. It was experimental brain surgery. Very similar vein to the House on Haunted Hill remake, the Jeffrey Combs character who they kill in the very beginning with the pencil. And you see him. There's even a direct rip from that House on Haunted Hill remake in this movie. A direct shot they ripped completely off. And I noticed that too. But again, I was like, all right, cool. Like if you're going to rip something off, rip something good off. And they did it well here, and it fit with the story. They have that. They have this bed where it's like, oh my God, so many people would sleep in this bed. And it's almost like murder set pieces. It was almost like, they're going to go back to these things. They're going to go back to these rooms. And I liked the way they did that. Oh, she cut her wrists here. She committed suicide here. And the bathtub filled up with all this blood. Later in the movie, the bathtub literally fills up with blood. And the guy's like, what the hell? It's filled now? And then something comes out of the bathtub, drags him into the water. And then all of a sudden, he's just gone. And you're like, holy shit, man, this is absolutely wild. You'll have points where they fall asleep. They wake up, their food has all been eaten, and there's all maggots on their food. There's, writing on their bodies. The one girl, it says hello. It's written in blood. It's all on her back. When she fell asleep, she didn't feel it. They wake up with wristbands around their arms saying, admitted, and with their names and the date and the time and things like that. I liked the gags. I think there's a lot of gags in this movie. A lot of people would call it gimmick horror. And you know what? Maybe it is. But I thought it worked. I thought it's gimmick horror that worked on its own two legs. I really believe that. I think, there's some interesting things with this too, where they play with time, that they're like, oh, they're supposed to open in the morning. And of course, time is standing still for them. It's like forever going to be that night as they get picked off one by one. And I don't know, man, I will say this too. And I know people probably laugh at me. I found this genuinely scary. Maybe I saw it at the right time. I was a teeny bopper when this came out. This was 2011. So, I probably saw it 2012, 2013 ish. So I probably was 15, 16. And it scared me. I thought it was effectively scary, like more so than the Paranormal Activity and how that struck a nerve. This struck more of a nerve with me. I thought it was smart. I thought it was effective. I thought it was funny where it needed to be. I thought it was scary where it needed to be. And I thought the gags and gimmicks really worked in this movie. This is one I highly recommend. I think more people need to see Grave Encounters. And to me, man, it's a really good example of a directorial debut for Colin Minihan. I think he did a really, really wonderful job directing this movie. And I think that, in a lot of ways, as you see this picture here of the woman in the bathtub, I thought that whole gag really worked. I thought it was effective the way they shot it. The camera is not too shaky. It's one of those movies I kind of really highly recommend. I think everyone should see this. I really do. So a high recommendation for Grave Encounters for me. But let me go back to comments. Let's go here, I believe we were. Hit that like button. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, Grande and everyone in the chat. Terry is here. Speaking of, milestones, Terry and the Psychobabble crew just celebrated their 1 year anniversary. I was fortunate enough to be on the show and spend the entire 3+ hours with them. It's just such a fun time shooting the breeze on horror. If you didn't see that show, totally go back and watch it. It's worth your time. It's just such a great time. And all three, Curly and Wes and Terrence have been so good to me and my channel. So, it was honored. It was a real honor to be, invited to that and spend time with them that night. It was a really, really good time. So cheers to Terry and Psychobabble, man. I wish I had something to hold up for you, but man, absolutely stoked for you and your crew, man. Here for my lesson in horror. Hell yeah, I love this. They're getting their dedication. Come to Graveyard to get your dedication. I remember when there used to be those shows where the camera shows, they would go inside danger. Of course. I mean, there's literally, if you Wikipedia ghost shows, like reality ghost shows, you will find hundreds of them. Like, that's how many ghost shows there are. And like, there are some shows like that do the reenactments that I like. Like, I always was an Unsolved Mysteries fan. I love Unsolved. Robert Stack and such a fucking great show. I mean, I loved fucking Unsolved Mysteries. It would always scare me to my fucking core as a kid. Like, that's something I would turn off. I would be like too freaked out to watch that fucking show. And, this parodying those type of shows, I liked. I was like, oh, this is funny. Like, they do all the gags, right? With they're walking towards the camera, uber slow, like very mid 2000s, like all the gimmicks. It was like kind of funny. You're like, Jesus, like this is exactly what they do. There's a point where they interview the gardener of the asylum. Hey, have you ever seen anything crazy here? No, sir. I'm going to go back to work now. And they're like, hey, man, here's a 20. Say you've seen something fucking crazy. So they do. And hey, sir, have you seen anything crazy here? Yeah, I saw a ghost over there. I thought that was great. I was like, yo, this fucking, they threw this guy a 20. Okay, yeah, I saw a ghost right there. Thanks for the 20. I'm going to go back to work. I thought that was great. I thought this movie had a really nice sense of humor. No apologies, Grande. You like what you like, period, if people don't like it too damn bad. Yet I think more of my point is, I think a lot of people would be surprised I'd like a movie like this. Like, I could totally see people being like, you like this? I could totally see somebody throwing that in my face. And I have fair criticism, totally fair criticism. I maybe it's a guilty pleasure. I don't know. Maybe I saw it at the right age. I can't really explain it, but it struck a nerve in me, and I liked it. Hey, Graveyardians, excited to hear about some good indie flicks. I know Mernsy was just watching this for the very first time. He voice messaged. Mernsy keeps us young. He's like, hey, man, I'm excited for the show. Going to watch Grave Encounters, so I got to hear Mernsy's thoughts. Of course, Mernsy, if you love Mernsy, he'll be on the show in 2 weeks' time. We'll be talking all things David Lynch top 5, his list. Very excited to have Mernsy on again. It's going to be a very fun show. Terrence, what's up, my psycho friend? Dude, always good to see T in the house. There is a foreign horror found footage called Wreck that is centered around a rescue team. And I love Wreck. I really like Wreck. And I know America, that was another movie they ripped off with Quarantine. They remade it. And that really wasn't half as effective as Wreck was, or even Wreck 2. I know Wreck has done like 4 movies now, but Wreck 1 is definitely that's just a great Spanish horror film. Great horror film, period, in my humble opinion. Dedication, that's cool, man. Yeah, this is where you come to get your fucking dedication. Hell yeah. There used to be a series called Sightings. That one I'm not too familiar with. I remember all the generic ones on Sci-Fi Channel, the Ghost Hunters and the Green Night Vision, and oh my God, is there something coming down the hall? And there could be a ghost behind me right now, and we won't know till later. I mean, just everything as generic as it could be, but this movie is in on the joke with you. It's like, yeah, we know those type of shows are generic, but here's these jerks, these people that crave sensationalism, getting their just desserts. And I think that's in a big way a point of the movie. Like, here we have this crew that are desperate for a hit. They're desperate to see sensationalism. And we quote the great Ruggiero Deodato, people want sensationalism. They want it raped into their senses. That's what people want. And they want this so their show can take off and be a big hit. But be careful what you wish for, because if the first 5 haunted places you go to weren't haunted and you didn't encounter any ghosts, the 6th one just might be. And that's what happens. They kind of get their just desserts, their comeuppance, their what have you, and they pay the ultimate price. And it's actually really cool, in my opinion, to see it unfold that way. And I like to see, Sean Rogerson's character as he goes from, cynical, oh, I don't believe in ghosts, and I wish this show could be a hit. His excitement is genuine. Oh my God, this is really happening now. Until it goes too far, until his life is at risk. Then, oh my God, he becomes the big hypocrite. I got to get out of here. We got to get out of here. We got to survive. you got what you wish for, pal. You got what you wish for, and sometimes you got to be careful what you wish for. Hello, Terrence Hole as well. Oh, everybody saying hi to each other in the graveyard. Aiden Vavra's in the house. Welcome, Mr. Vavra. Rec 1 and 2 are my favorite found footage films. Well, you picked great ones, man. I love both those movies for real. I've never seen part 4. I've seen 1 through 3. 3 was a letdown. 1 through 2 I really liked. Grave Encounters is good. I agree. Texas THC is here. Hey, Dr. Grande. Dr. Grande. Doctor. Okay. I got my PhD in horror, baby. I did. It was good. Not quite what I was expecting it to be, but overall it was quite refreshing. Picked up in the last 33 minutes for sure. Yes, it has a great final act. It really does. So mild spoilers. Their one friend goes missing, and they do pull a Blair Witch where they're screaming his name for a good 20 minutes instead of, tell me where you are, Josh! Tell me where you are! Instead of that, it's, Matt! Matt! It's fucking, this girl's voice is like a screeching parakeet. Matt! I'm like, oh my God, somebody shut this bitch up. But it's, again, it very much reminds you of fucking Blair Witch. Or, tell me where you are, Josh. Tell me where you are. It's very similar to that, and in a good way. Again, in a good way. In my opinion, I thought that it worked. But I agree, the finale really does pick it up, and I like that you see a lot of the craziness. Like I said, the death scene in the bathtub I thought was effective. You have the one friend that they finally find him, and you see he's gone crazy. He's got the wristband, and the doctor, he can help you too. And he takes just a fucking Jeff Hardy swanton dive and fucking dies from it, just breaks every bone in his body. I mean, craziness, man. Absolute craziness. And they encounter the doctor and all these demons. I thought it was really good. It was almost like a fun haunted house virtual reality experience, the final 30 minutes of this movie. And it really worked, in my opinion, because I know there's a lot, again, that go more simple and show less to be effective. And this movie showed a lot, and I still think was effective. And that's rare. It's really rare you see that. I've heard of Grave Encounters, but I seriously forgot about that movie. And I always thought it didn't look like anything special, but I'll give it a chance eventually. I think it's worth a chance. I think it's a good popcorn movie. It's not a classic. It's not a movie that I'm like, oh my God, quit what you're doing and watch it. But I think it's solid enough, man. I really do. I experienced a ghost. I didn't really believe it. Half convinced myself. I mentioned it to my cousin. Happened in her house, and she's like, everybody stays at her house, experiences it too. I've never, as far as I feel on ghosts, I've never had any paranormal encounters or anything like that. But I've had deja vu moments with people I feel like I've never met, then I'll see them, and then it's like, what the fuck? Like, how did my brain conjure that up? I've had things like that, but definitely never had a paranormal incident or anything like that. Mateo says, the hotel I work at is haunted, no lies. Oh, is it? I've got to hear stories, Mateo, because you're still alive and well and doing okay, but I've got to hear, do you have any haunted stories for us? I'd be very, very excited to hear it. LOL, sounds interesting, Mateo. Yeah, I second that. Absolutely second that. But this is Grave Encounters. If I had to rate this, I think it's a solid 7 out of 10. I think it's a solid way to start your career off. And when I saw it, I was like, I'm excited to see what this guy does next. Like, I will keep my ears open and my eyes open, to see and hear what this guy does next, because I saw talent. I definitely saw somebody with talent, and I saw somebody that I was hoping that would go on to, make some interesting horror movies. And thankfully he did. I mean, the next 3 movies, like I said, they're all completely different, and I'm excited to get into them here. And I won't keep you any more suspense. We'll get on to our next movie. Now, this one, definitely a little bit of a step down, in my opinion, of a sophomorial effort. Probably the weakest of his 4 movies we'll be talking about here tonight, but it's from the year 2014. This is Extraterrestrial. Yes, Extraterrestrial from 2014. Brief plot synopsis. A group of friends on a weekend trip to the cabin in the woods find themselves terrorized by alien visitors. Yes, Extraterrestrial. Where's Katy Perry at? Where's Katy Perry at in this son of a bitch? Extraterrestrial. I'm sorry. I should know that song, but I do. I have a sister, all right? She used to play all that fucking girl teeny bop music in the fucking house. So, it ain't my fault. It ain't my damn fault, goddammit. But this movie, while I do like it and I would give it the solid pass, I definitely think it's a little bit of a step down from all of the other work that he's done. And a lot of that is honestly more story than it is visuals. And a lot of that actually would mainly be tone. So this is your basic plot setup of teens going to a cabin in the woods for the weekend. A lot of them are generic characters. You have the dumb blonde, you have the annoying friend, and then you have the lead couple, of course, one of whom played by Brittany Allen, who after this movie in real life started dating the director Colin Minihan, and they would wind up, of course, becoming a couple. And now she's become his final girl. Like what Sherry Moon is to Rob Zombie, Brittany Allen is to Colin Minihan. From this movie on, she's the lead of all of his movies, and I think she's a wonderful actress. I think she's really, really talented. She's a very pretty woman, and I like the duo. I kind of think it's cool that he met his dream girl, his final girl, and is able to work with her as the lead of all of his movies, and in a very less obnoxious way, I would say, than a Rob Zombie. I know, like, she's not walking around with any white horses or cursing people out or laughing like a fucking idiot. I think her acting is a lot better and a lot more mellow. And of course, she's, one of the two leads. And of course, her boyfriend, played by Freddie Stroma, of course, he wants to propose to her this weekend. And of course, their friends come, interrupt it, and she gets cold feet. She doesn't say yes. She's like, listen, my parents had a messy divorce. I can't say yes right now. I don't know if there is a one for me. And he's heartbroken by this and very upset. And then, of course, in the turmoil of the two of them fighting, they start to see bright, colorful red, blue, green lights, and an alien invasion is taking place, of course, in this middle of the cabin in the woods. And I thought, again, basic, very basic plot, nothing that we haven't seen. Okay, cabin in the woods movie, how many fucking hundreds of those? Okay, alien invasion movie, how many fucking ones of those? Understandable, totally understandable. But I think this had a nice vibe to it, a nice pace to it, and a very nice color palette. This is where Colin Minihan very much more started playing with colors and looks and vibes and styles. We have a lot of reds, we have a lot of greens, blues, all these beautiful colors that really much pop off the screen. And that stuff I think is great. I think it's really slick and well directed. However, there are some issues with the story in this one, and I also would say there's issues with tone. I personally would have done away with a lot of the comedy in this film and kind of the laughs, if you will, because I didn't find a lot of them funny. You have this cop character who lost his family to the aliens. They were abducted and nobody believes him about it. He's like this lead sheriff cop. I wish we could have focused a little bit more with him, like a side B plot where he's still searching for his family. He comes encounter with these kids and they say, listen, aliens are here. And he's like, you know what? I believe you because my family went missing and I want to go and get these bastards and see if I can save my family. That's the story I would have went with here. But they really don't go for that. They kind of have these teen generic characters. They're picked off in one by one type of fashion. Nothing incredible there. I didn't really like it. The asshole character, he gets a great death. He gets anally fucking probed, which I thought was actually quite disturbing upon rewatch. That guy got the perfect death for his character. Like, I'm the asshole. I'm shooting fireworks out of cars, and I'm, a prick alpha male. And of course, he gets fucking a alien bug put into his belly button that eats his stomach alive, and then he gets anally probed. I was like, is there a better way for an asshole prick character to die? I don't think so. I thought that was quite well done. The humor, some of the humor, though, does not work in this movie. It really takes you out of it. Whereas I think you should have lent a little bit more serious here. And I think it would have worked a hell of a lot better. There's also some interesting styles where they are shooting some of it on shot on video where it's like, oh, did she say yes? Did she say yes? Oh, you fucking dick. Why'd you say no? And then it goes back to regular cinematic shooting. I didn't think that worked. I thought that was very forced in there and almost a callback to, okay, our first movie was a shot on video. Here's a little bit more shot on video. I thought you should completely get away with that. Like, you're completely getting away with that from the tone, from the style, from the look, from the feel and vibe. Why pay homage to that and do any shaky cam in this that was like very poor looking, in my opinion? It looked very standard death, in my opinion. That did not fucking work for me. Of course, though, when you do get to the scenes with the aliens, I thought a lot of it worked good. I thought the aliens, these aren't aliens you haven't seen before. These look like very much like the glow-in-the-dark aliens, the very generic, like green. They're more gray in this movie, but very generic-looking aliens, which I didn't think looked too bad. Considering the budget, it had like a $3 million budget. I thought they looked quite good. And of course, the stuff on the alien spaceship, I was like, man, this doesn't look like a $3 million movie. Like, it definitely looks like it had some budget behind it. And a lot of that, again, is credit to the director and Colin Minihan. I think he made a lot of this stuff look grander and bigger than it actually was. And I think there's major kudos and credit that he has to get there. I really feel that way. And then, of course, issues with the story would be the ending. The ending of the movie is really weak. I mean, I really don't like the ending because you have, as spoiler alerts, if you're interested in seeing the movie, I'm going to spoil some of this. The cop character, instead of reuniting with his family and getting on the alien spaceship and having any sort of heroic character arc, redemption arc, what have you, he gets tranced by an alien, blows off his partner's friends, played by Sean Rogerson from the previous film. He was the lead. He was Lance Preston. In this, he's just a BS side character. Blows his head off, then blows his own head off. So that character is nothing. Like, it was just such a generic, like, really? Like, that guy, you built him up and just did nothing? I thought that was quite lame. You get on the alien spaceship, the lead couple that were having the problems, and she didn't say I do, of course. They get off the alien spaceship, the aliens let them go, and you think, oh my God, they're going to live happily ever after. Like, she's going to be with him. You know, she says, I was afraid. Please understand that I was just afraid, and I didn't know what to do. I just got afraid. I got cold feet. I've seen so many relationships end badly. You know, I got afraid. And she explains that to him, and he understands. And they kind of embrace, hold hands. And I thought should have walked off into the sunset. Like, a nice ending. These two didn't deserve to get probed anally by aliens or abducted. They deserve to live happily ever after. It doesn't go that way. They very much go more Night of the Living Dead with the ending here where they're holding hands and all of a sudden you see the cavalry has arrived. The military is there. Hey, they're cheering. Hey, you know, cabin fever-esque, and they get shot. They get brutally shot to death. And then they kind of crumble down. And they do have a nice moment where she takes the ring from him and she makes him put it on her finger. And so the two of them do embrace, like, he got to put the ring on her. If they hadn't been shot and killed, she did say I do. And I liked that aspect of it. Call me sentimental, call me cheesy, call me whatever you want to call me. I liked that. I thought that had a nice heart to it. But I didn't think they deserved to get shot, killed, and it didn't work here like it does in Night of the Living Dead or a Cabin Fever, where I totally understand it. I totally understand why they killed Joey Kern at the end of fucking Cabin Fever. I totally understand why they killed Dwayne Jones at the end of. They thought they were infected. Like, they totally. Well, granted, depending on who you ask in Night of the Living Dead, but with Cabin Fever, yeah, he could have easily been infected. They had to fucking take him out. Didn't do them any good because we still get the atrocity known as Cabin Fever 2 Spring Fever, which that's a horse of a different color. But I thought it really didn't work here. They play a really bad cover of Spirit in the Sky. Going up to a Spirit in the Sky. Didn't work at all. It was a bad cover, as they're showing that, like, the government is looking into all of this and they're studying the aliens and no one can know. Like, people are going to fucking believe these two. Like, we saw aliens in a cabin in the woods. Would anybody really have believed them? Like, I thought that was really quite lame. I was like, they didn't have to die. I don't see any justification to kill those two characters. I just didn't. A movie that I'm more mixed on, and probably the one I'm the least on of these four. I would still say it's good. It's still passable. It's still very slickly directed. I like the colors. I like, you know, some of the shots and cinematography. And I think Colin Minihan does a good job, you know, making this movie feel definitely more theatrical and cinematic as opposed to a found footage Grave Encounters type of movie. But at the end of the day, I could totally see why this went direct to video. I could see why this didn't go to a movie theater. Grave Encounters, I think, should have been in a movie theater alongside the next two. I definitely think the next two deserve to be in a movie theater. This one, though, very much more a direct-to-video movie. I would come in with like a solid 5.5, 6 out of 10, somewhere in that ballpark. But let's go back to comments. I've neglected y'all for far too long. Let's see. Aiden Maverick says, Grave Encounters is a fun directorial debut. Not great, but it's a good start. Definitely agree with the 7 out of 10 rating. I think you got to start somewhere, man. And I think they did a really good job. In my opinion, like, when I saw it, I remember being like, I'm excited to see what this guy does next. Very similar story to David Robert Mitchell and It Follows. I remember being like, I can't wait to see what this guy does next. And he didn't disappoint. I just wish he had done more than the only movie he did after It Follows. LMAO didn't expect a Katy Perry reference. Well, the song, right? I wanted to hear Grande sing Kiss the Girl, and I liked it. Oh, you want to hear a fucking horror story? This is a true story. I was maybe 2 months into having my license. We're fucking me and my friend Matt Fischetti. He can vouch this story is true. It's like 4 a.m. We're fucking driving home. And I am like literally like fighting to stay away. Probably shouldn't have been driving. We're driving home and I get to a stop sign. He goes, turn left. I'm like, okay. And it's a left on a highway. And so I turn left and we're going. There's like almost nobody on the fucking road. And we're fucking listening to the radio and he puts on the fucking, I Kissed the Girl. And I think it was I Kissed a Girl. I think it was. And fucking, he puts that song on and we're driving. All of a sudden I see headlights. And it was like fucking plane, trains, and automobiles. And we're like, what the fuck? Like, why are there headlights coming? And all of a sudden we start screaming like, bro, he goes, yo, his voice for some reason became very deep and very like stupid. He's like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? And I'm like, what the fuck? We're on the wrong side of the road. So I swerved around into a diner. We hit the brakes and we were like, we never speak of this again. Like, it was very funny and like serious at the time. But I saw him less than a year ago. I was out and about. I was on a date actually, and I ran into him in a bar. I was like, man, you remember that? And my cheeks hurt from laughing about that with him. So shout out Matt Fischetti, man. I love that kid, man. That was his near-death experience we had, and that was the song playing on the radio. So it was like, bro, remember that time we almost died to I Kissed a Girl? Very only me, only us. One of the classic alien invasion films is It Came from Outer Space. It is a very classic movie. It is one of those non-antagonistic alien movies, which I really quite like. I saw an episode of Tales from the Dark Side recently that I'd never seen called The Impressionist. And it was very similar to that, where the aliens are friendly. And I loved the ending. Like, I'll definitely review it one day when I do Tales from the Dark Side season 2. But man, that episode just blew me away. I was like, wow, like this is how you do a non-antagonistic alien story right. Throwing this on in the background right now, Extraterrestrial, Grave Encounters, and What Keeps You Alive are all on Tubi, y'all. Yeah, hell yeah. I guess I would think it Stains the Sands Red is too. I definitely think it's free somewhere. There was an alien horror movie called The Fourth Kind with Mila Djokovic, and they tried to do, again, mockumentary. I'm Mila Djokovic, and everything you're about to see is real. That movie sucked. Granted, that movie struck a nerve with some people. That movie scared the shit out of some people. So here's the story. Kid died in the pool in 1959. Dude, this is starting to sound like Friday the 13th here. Now the pool is filled with concrete, but some nights you pass and hear a small kid crying. No rooms with people are near that location. What? That's creepy. Didn't Jason drown in 57? I think Jason drowned in 57. This kid died for real in 59. I think Jason's going to come to... Jason takes a hotel. Jason takes a 5-star. Jason takes a Best Western. Mateo, watch out, buddy. If Jason comes, call me. I'll come and try to fight him with you. But granted, we might be fucked because it's Jason Voorhees. Never seen Extraterrestrial. I've heard mixed reviews. I understand the mixed reviews. It's his weakest movie for sure. It's a little bit of a sophomorial step down, sophomorial slump. But it's at the same time, again, the style is there. I think it was just the writing that let him down a little bit here. Some of the story direction and a little bit of the tone. I think the tone didn't work here. It was a little too goofy at times where I think, again, where Grave Encounters, it turns, right? It becomes serious. Same with It Stains the Sands Red. It turns, it becomes serious after some laughs. This movie, I think it takes too long for that turn to occur. It's like the last 20 minutes and it's too long. By that point, I'm like, Or like the classic Steven Spielberg movie, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. All great movies that you mentioned there, Slasher Fred. What's up, y'all? A little late tonight. Hope everyone is good. Good brother Ghostface Brett is in the house. You can thank Ghostface Brett for that Scream 6 rant if you enjoyed that, because that was a very colorful rant. Wow. How cheesy and sentimental. King Gore, first time in the graveyard in a long time. Corey, good to see you, man. Congratulations on your graduation, man. Very proud of you. And I'm glad that you're back on the tube, kicking ass and taking names. Also love the Palindromes review, buddy. Brett says, hi. I'm not going to lie, Night of the Living Dead reference in Cabin Fever was darkly humorous. Oh, sure. And I definitely think those two movies work with this type of ending better than this one. Like this one, I'm like, I don't see why you'd have to kill them. Like, no one's ever going to believe that story. A zombie pandemic? Yeah, I get why you shot him if you weren't sure. A fucking flesh-eating virus? Yeah, I get it. You shot him. I get you weren't really sure. This fucking movie, there's not a soul that would have believed their story. It's just like Child's Play. Like, who's going to believe me? That nobody would have believed them, so it just didn't work. There was also a classic 1960s film, The Last Man on Earth. Well, Slasher Fred, seems like you like your alien movies, man. I'm glad you do. David Robert Mitchell might be the new Richard Kelly. I don't know about that. I definitely don't know about that. I love David Robert Mitchell, and I think that if Under the Silver Lake didn't bomb, that he'd keep making it. It didn't bomb critically, it bombed commercially. The Box and the Southland Tales movie, those both bombed in both ways. Like, it bombed critically and commercially, which that's the double threat. Like, that's, you bomb critically and commercially, you could be done. Your next movie could be your last. That's just how the business works. Sup, Corey? Scream 6 is one of the channel highlight videos. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That was, oh boy, that was a colorful rant. Need gore. He needs his gore. God damn it. But Extraterrestrial, again, solid, like a 5.5, 6 out of 10. A little bit of a step down, but in my opinion, definitely nothing terrible. Just something that I would say of these four, if there's one you're going to skip, probably that's the one you skip. So it is what it is. It's neither here nor there. Let's move on into our third film of the evening, the zombie picture, if you will. And this is a zombie movie that I think more people need to talk about, one that I'm very excited to shed some light on. As 2 years later, Colin Minihan comes in to direct his third movie, his of course, junior effort. This is It Stains the Sands Red. Yes, from the year 2016. In the throes of a zombie apocalypse, a troubled young woman from Las Vegas with a dark past finds herself stranded in the desert with a lone and ravenous zombie on her tail. Yes, It Stains the Sands Red. A really good zombie movie. A really good throwback to why George Romero's zombie movies work. And in vain, very similar in how simple yet effective it was in a way that The Battery was in 2012 before this, Jeremy Gardner's film. I really enjoy both of those movies for how simple they take the zombie formula and how effective they make it at the same time. Here we go tell the story of Brittany Allen. This is Brittany Allen, of course, Colin Minihan's lady, his final girl in real life and in the movies. She plays this woman that's addicted to cocaine. And of course, you get the idea she's done some prostituting and she has a very dark life. You can see that she's in a very dark era and point of her life. And it's very sad to see. She has, of course, her pimp with her, that's the guy with the gun, he's barely in the film. I don't even know why they put him on the poster. He's in the movie maybe 10 minutes. He's very briefly in the fucking film. They're driving around the desert. Of course, he gets stuck in a mud hole. And of course, all of a sudden a zombie attacks them and it gets her boyfriend, and you get the idea that the zombie apocalypse is going on in the city around them in Las Vegas and shit has hit the fan. But we don't follow that. This is not a zombie movie where we're in the city and there's tons of gore and violence and guns and action. To very much dial it back down, not even to 5, but down to like 2 or 3, where the entire movie is a cat and mouse chase between our lead character, female, and one single solitary zombie. And to the way they make that creative and the way they make that interesting really blew me away. And I was very engaged in this film from beginning to end. And I really enjoyed rewatching it this past week for Grande's Graveyard, as I really think this is an underrated zombie film. One of the best of the past 10 years, easily. And definitely the most underrated for a zombie movie. I mean, people talk about, the Zack Snyder zombie movie that I forget, was it Army of the Dead? Was it? I forget the fucking name of it, but it's a lot better than that. It's, definitely better than World War Z or any episode of The Walking Dead you might have seen. I think this did simple yet effective really well, and the old school Romero kind of tropes really, really effectively, in my humble opinion. That's how I saw this movie. Now, of course, you have this chase going on, and the woman, she's cutting promos on this thing, like, "Hey, you want some blood? Here." She takes a used tampon, throws it, fetch. And because he needs blood, he eats it. Like, I thought that was funny, but again, gross at the same time, like effectively gross. There are some interesting scenes where she makes campfire for the night and she literally puts a tire around the zombie so it can't move, because she has to stop and rest and she has to make sure the zombie can't come for her. So she has this gimmick where she puts a tire around the zombie and it can't move. It just sits there and watches because it can't move. It's all kind of tied up and stuff. And you get these very, really wonderfully directed flashback sequences of, Brittany Allen's character in her past life. Of course, you see that she had a family. She had a son that she loved dearly, of course, her baby boy. And you see that those were simpler times in her life, and that's where she'd like to be now. And of course, she sold all of that out for cocaine and for, stripping and for her body and all of these things. She sold out her family, her life, and her happiness just to get high. And you see how, crippled she is because of this and how sad she is and conflicted as a character. And I really liked her acting. She did a lot of really good facial expression acting without saying much. She said a lot. And I think that's very tough to do as an actor, as a performer. And Brittany Allen did a great job here as the lead actress. I love her performance. And I liked, again, a lot of the gags, like her walking and her cutting promos on him. "Hey, you know what your name is? Small Dick. That's what I'm going to call you. Small Dick." Like, she's just, yelling all these promos at him. There's a point where there's a sandstorm and she thinks, "Oh, I've lost him." Her whole body's all dried up. And the cavalry you think has arrived, these guys in a truck. "Hey, here's a water. Get in the car. Oh my goodness. We can't believe we found somebody alive out here." She gets in the car and she realizes these guys are up to no good and they want to rape her. And of course they start to, and of course, Mr. Zombie, Small Dick Zombie, he comes out of the sand and starts chomping down on these bastards. And I thought that was great. I was like, how fucking cool is that? Like, that is so fucking cool that these guys are trying to take advantage of her, and the zombie, in a way, saves her, becomes protector as the other guy kind of drives off. She did a really good job of selling the PTSD of that too, of the post-traumatic stress of being sexually taken advantage of. And again, on top of adding the pile and fuel to the fire of her past life and her mistakes and the things that she sold out on, and dreams of getting back home to her baby boy, to add that, icing on the cake. And it's really sad, and you're heartbroken for this character. You really are. But I like how they do the slow, gradual turn where the zombie is the heel, and as they fucking play this out, you start to like the zombie. Like, that's the first scene where you're like, oh, cool, the zombie did something, heroic, inadvertently, but again, he did it heroically. And the point where she ties him up and she goes, who were you? And she takes his wallet. It's a very simple scene where she goes through his wallet and she sees the guy that he was. You can tell a lot about a person by going through their wallet. And you see pictures of he and his past girlfriend and, how happy they looked together. And she starts to get emotional. She starts to get sad. And she says, you know what? Like, I can't put you out of your misery. Like, she has a gun at this point and I can't shoot you. Like, I can't do it. And she starts to feel for the zombie. I know probably a lot of people, that sounds silly. It worked. And it felt very much George. It felt very much something George would say. What if you started to feel for this thing? What if it really was a person that you could care about and feel for? It's not just another living dead ghoul. This is a person. This was a person that was loved dearly by his girlfriend and his family alike. And I like that they humanize the one and only zombie that we really see throughout the most of this movie. I thought that was really interesting. Humanize it. It doesn't just have to be a monster, a blood-sucking, eating monster. It doesn't just have to be that. And I thought it really worked. I liked that. You do have some very fun scenes towards the finale where, she's determined to get the zombie to take the entire journey that she does to get back home to her son. She does embrace with her son. It's a really nice sentimental scene. And as she does, of course, the zombies are at the door and she's like, let's fucking go. Like, I've grown as a person. I have my character arc. I have my son who I love, and no zombie's going to stop me. And I like the whole character arc here. This is really more of a character study of a woman who has made mistakes in her life. And it's the horrors of someone who, regrets their past and through this, accentuating circumstance of a zombie epidemic, is able to reinvent herself, is able to, overcome her past traumas and, of course, grow as a person and get home to the thing that she's chasing. I think a really good horror movie, really good from top to bottom, and very George Romero. Like, I think any Romero fan would really dig this movie. Again, funny where it had to be in the opening parts and the whole monologues and promos and the tampon eating. That stuff is funny. But when it really gets down to, the heart of this movie, the flashbacks, I think Colin Minihan nailed it. I think he nailed the dramatic tone. And I was like, okay, he's very much more learned from the mistake of Extraterrestrial. I think he's really grown here. And I really, again, just like the other two, excited to see what he has to do next. So It Stains the Sands Red. It's going to come in again at like a 7.5 out of 10. I really like this movie. I think it's very simple, yet very effective. Highly recommend this one if people have not seen it. And I know a lot of people haven't. So definitely check out It Stains the Sands Red. Really fucking good movie and a badass title. I just love that title. The title doesn't really match the movie that much. It's not a very gory zombie film. Like, something like that sounds like something Peter Jackson would do. But this particular movie, I definitely think, took the dial back tone to 3 and really worked. How are you, buddy? I had a good birthday. Anthony Chova, welcome, man. Hope all is well with you. Happy belated. Army of the Dead was truly one of the most disappointing films ever, in my opinion. Yeah, I didn't bother. I actually have grown to really like Bautista as an actor. The Knock at the Cabin movie made me realize he can act. And I've been shitting on Dave Bautista for years, whether it be Wrong Side of Town or any of his WWE runs. And I always make fun of Blue Tista, always have. But he can work, man. He can act. I actually regret making fun of him as much as I have, because he showed me something with that. As bad as that Knock at the Cabin movie was, he showed me something. He really showed me something. I was like, Deacon Dave can work, man. He can act. I really believe that. Good Lord. Yeah, no, absolutely. Evil Connor is here. That's a first time. I walked in on small deck. Well, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Evil Connor, welcome, my friend. Hope all's well with you. Hope you check out It Stains the Sands Red. People saying hi to one another. One of the classic zombie movies is The Omega Man. Gotta love Omega Man. That's a classic. Added it to the never-ending watch list. Sounds intriguing. Jake was saying he wants to watch it too. Dude, I think that you guys would both love it a lot. It's, granted, again, not a gore fest. Definitely not a gore fest. But if you like zombie movies in the vein of George Romero, I don't see how you could not like this. It's just very much up that alley. I definitely want to watch It Stains the Sands Red. I think you'd love it. I think you in particular, because I know you're a Romero guy, I think you definitely love it, Aiden. Highly recommend you give it a look. Definitely one of his better movies. It could be his best. I don't know. It's definitely up there. But that, of course, brings me to the fourth and final film of the evening. Of course, his latest film to date. This is 5 years old, so it's been a little bit of a while, as long as Layaway is his director, which is a shame in my opinion, and I hope he does more, because this is a movie where I definitely think he was trying to make a movie that would go on to define his career. Like last week, we were talking a little bit about Wes Craven, and you know how I said that movies like The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, these were the movies that built up his reputation. Movies like Deadly Blessing, and then of course, you know, some of the TV work he did, he used those movies to build up to making the movie that would go on to define the rest of his career in A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think that this was his attempt to have that movie define the rest of his career, and I really like it. I definitely think there's some issues with it. It's not a masterpiece. It's no Nightmare on Elm Street, but again, what is? But I definitely think it's one that is worth a watch as well, and it's one that I really have grown on ever since my initial viewing. And this is from the year 2018. This is What Keeps You Alive. Yes, What Keeps You Alive. Brief plot synopsis. Majestic mountains, a still lake, and venomous betrayals engulf a female married couple attempting to celebrate their 1-year anniversary. Yes, What Keeps You Alive. Wow. I mean, when I first saw this, I was a little let down. I saw this in the theater. I believe it was in Queens when I saw this movie. And I made sure it had a very limited theatrical run. It was randomly playing in the theater in Queens. And I drove to Queens to see it. I was like so excited. And I walked out a little bit disappointed. I was like, upon rewatching for the show, I think this is a really fucking good movie. Like, I really have grown a lot on the movie. And Sean, you took the word out of my hand. Yeah, it's a great poster. Like, I love this artwork. Anything pink, to me, is just like all. I know that's like not a stereotypical male color, if you will, but I like the pink and black attack. I like Bret the Hitman Hart. He's always rocking the pink. I love this poster. I think this is it has some Rosemary's Baby vibes with the side profile, and then of course some of the pink. But I really like that poster too. And upon revisiting this, I liked it a lot more. I was very much more on board with it and with it from beginning to end as I was opposed to the first time. So this is one that upon a rewatch, I definitely liked a lot better. Of course, this tells the story of a same-sex married couple. Of course, one of them played by Brittany Allen, the other by Hannah Emily Anderson, who you might remember the two of them both the year before this were in the piece of shit known as Jigsaw. Jigsaw was the year 2017 before this. They're both in that movie. They don't share any scenes, but this is a lot better movie than Jigsaw. Just going to let that simmer with you there. But I think this is arguably his most mature film, arguably his best film at the same time, because this is more the story of a deconstruction of a married couple. Of course, it's our 1-year anniversary. I love you, babe. We're going to a cabin in the woods again, just like Extraterrestrial. We're going to send this very romantic weekend. We're going to have campfires and fireplaces and play some songs on the guitar. And there's this great song that Hannah Emily Anderson plays towards the beginning, this very haunting song. There's a demon inside. Blood, let it out. There's a demon inside. Till you love me again. There's a demon inside. Really good. I like the way this movie opens and kind of butters you up. You're like, man, there's something off about this movie. There's definitely something not right going on here. Like, yeah, everything seems like majestic and lesbians gone wild and they're going to have a very fun, erotic weekend. And it doesn't really happen that way. Of course, our two leads, they go out for a walk. They encounter another couple that one of them knew Hannah Emily Anderson's character when she was a child, and they were friends growing up. Really interesting stuff there. Of course, you'll recognize the girl. She's from Superbad. Of course, that's Martha McIsaac. Martha McIsaac. She's also in the Last House on the Left remake. She's also in Superbad as Becca. She's the one that Michael Cera likes. She shows up in this. It was cool to see her. I was like, oh shit, the chick from Superbad. Always cool to see her. And this is again, I would say this is a better movie than the Last House on the Left remake. I'll say that too. I like it better than that. Of course, they see them, and then they're going off on a hike, and they're nature walking, and you get a lot of character development. Something that I think Extraterrestrial definitely sorely missed. You missed good, three-dimensional characters, whereas It Stains the Sands Red get back to the basics, and we get to learn a lot about Brittany Allen's character and her character arc. Here, we get to know a lot about this couple, right? Brittany Allen fell in love with her, and Hannah Emily Anderson sort of has what you assume to be a dark past. She hunted a lot with her father growing up. There was a mysterious death of one of her friends that was going on at the time, and we're kind of interested about that. Well, what happened to her? How'd she go missing? There's a scene where Hannah Emily Anderson breaks down about it. She was my best friend. I loved her. I miss her to this day. I would do anything to get her back. And you do get some interesting kind of, growth and development. But then the twist of this movie happens about 30 minutes in. So big twist here. If you want to see the movie and aren't interested in spoilers, turn it off. Turn it off. You get my full permission to turn it off. They are taking a picture on top of a cliff. And of course, Hannah Emily Anderson decides to push her wife off the cliff. And, she seemingly thinks she falls to her death. It's a crazy cliff fall. She lands and you're like stunned. You're like, whoa, we're 30 minutes in. You just fucking murdered your fucking wife. What the fuck? Like, what are you doing? And then, of course, she goes home to clean up and stuff like that. And when she goes to retrieve the body, Brittany Allen's gone. She somehow survived the fall. Somehow, like Mick Foley, survived this fucking fall to death. And of course, Hannah Emily Anderson starts to look for her and try to put, it was an accident. I'm so sorry, baby. And Brittany Allen knows, okay, this bitch is crazy. Like, shit's going down right now. And the rest of it, I thought it was interesting to do the twist there because you could have easily built that tension for an hour and then paid it off with like a 15, 20-minute final act. They do it so early on in the film that the last hour serves as a really good sort of cat and mouse, sort of deconstruction of a breakup, because Brittany Allen eventually tries to run to the other couple's house. She tries to take a canoe there. She's canoeing over. And then, of course, Hannah Emily Anderson catches her. And she's like, where you going, bitch? She's like, you better stop right now. And the couple say, hey, guys, you want to do dinner tonight? Yeah, we'd love to do dinner. And she's like, we have to put up this fucking charade. You better get back to the house. We're going to clean you up from this fall. We're going to go there and you're going to fucking behave. And if you don't fucking behave, I'll kill all three of you. So she takes her back to the house, and I love some of the dialogue horror here. What do I mean by dialogue horror? The first question she asked, did you ever love me? That hit me. That hit me in the feet. I was like, the first thing this woman thinks of, not fuck you, you push me off a cliff, or you fucking bitch, or you son of a bitch, I trusted you. The first question, did you love me? That tore my heart out. I was like, holy shit. Like, because you think about this and you put yourself in that person's shoes. This is someone you've married, you've been at your most vulnerable with, you've been intimate with, you've been naked with, you've been everything with. This is your significant other in a same-sex marriage. And you've trusted this woman, you have loved this woman, only to be pushed off a fucking cliff, survive. And that not even being the most painful part being the answer that she gets. I never loved you. I wanted your fucking life insurance money, bitch. I was like, oh my God, what a piece of trash. Like, what a fucking piece of trash that character is. I was like, just beside myself of disgust and anger. And like, that's true horror. I just used you. I buttered you up for a year, got you believing for a year. You were eating my fucking ginger pussy for a year until you fucking realized that I was just in it to get your money. And there's also other motives there. The Hannah Emily Anderson character, I think, is very three-dimensional because we don't ever really get, that's the motive they give. But at the same time, there's a very interesting line where Brittany Allen says, I don't think you did it for my money. She goes, what did you think I did it for? She goes, I think you did it to feel something. Because you're heartless, you're lifeless. You can't feel love. You don't know what it feels like. You don't know what pain feels like. You don't know what anger or sadness or happiness or any of these things feel like. You pushed me off that cliff to feel. And I thought, wow, like, again, very deep. And I think Colin Minihan nails that dialogue of making you think about this. Like, this is, again, somebody you were at your most vulnerable with. And the first question, as she's being cleaned up to go to this dinner that nobody wants to go to, did you love me? I thought that was great. That's a big, like, why do I love horror? Lines like that. It could have just been generic. Could have just been anything else. It could have just been, how could you? Simple and generic like that. It was that, like, oh my God, like, did you ever love me? No, like, crushed for her there. And the scene of the dinner scene is really well done, as the two of them are trying to put up the charade. And, Brittany Allen is trying to suggest, like, oh, you never really know somebody and you never really know what's going on in their head. And she's sort of like trying to egg her on, but she knows she has to be, cool at the table. And I liked that scene. I thought that scene was very well directed and tension filled. Something similar or out of the Book of a Misery, like a very good dinner scene. I really liked that. I liked that stuff. And then, of course, she steps outside. Hannah Emily Anderson steps outside with the husband of the other couple. And then, of course, Brittany Allen is on the inside, and she's trying to whisper to her, like, listen, she's fucking crazy. She's tried to kill me before. You see that she tries to do that. And Hannah Emily Anderson catches her in the act, and all of a sudden just goes ape shit and starts stabbing the shit out of everybody in the fucking house, exception of Brittany Allen. She kills and brutally kills the other couple. I mean, and it's violent, it's gory, it's very uncomfortable. And even to the point where she's killing the Becca character from Superbad, and she mentions the old friend. She goes, oh, remember her? She goes, she fought a lot harder than you, and just stabs the fucking shit out of this woman. It's disturbing. And then she has Brittany Allen, her fucking wife, clean it up, bitch. She has her clean it up. And she's like, don't fucking scrub blot. If you scrub, you'll fucking leave a trail. It'll ingrain itself in the wood. I know these things. Really hardcore and disturbing. And of course, Hannah Emily Anderson's plan is, I'm going to push her off the fucking cliff again. I'm going to try to push her off the cliff again, make it look like an accident so I can collect my insurance, so I can maybe, just maybe, feel something. Again, very interesting. She gets there, there's a struggle, and all of a sudden, Hannah Emily Anderson gets stabbed in the throat with a trank, and she goes down, breaks down, and you're like, holy shit, run, you're free, like, get out of there, Brittany Allen. This is where the movie loses a lot of people, I know for a fact, and the first time I saw it, it lost me. She gets in the car, she goes to drive away, and I was thinking the movie was over. And of course, she gets to the main road, and she stops, and she finally lets out her sadness and her pain and the horror that she's been holding on and bottling up inside. She finally lets it out. She starts crying, and she's like, oh my God, like, this fucking bitch, like, how could you do that to me? And in a lot of ways, I know that the diehard horror fan like us who knows this shit, they'd go, why would you not just keep driving? Just why would you ever go back? She turns the car around and goes back. And when I first saw it, I was like, God damn it, you should have just drove off. This time I saw it in a different light. If you are someone who's a part of an abusive relationship and you are with somebody that you absolutely feel dependent on, it is hard to leave sometimes when that person abuses you, when that person doesn't treat you right, when maybe the right person comes along otherwise and you think you should leave and you stay. There's a lot of the horrors of that, of people staying somewhere when they shouldn't anymore. And I think that's what it's trying to say. You have this interesting story arc of, yeah, she should have driven away. That would be the smart thing to do. But she drives back because, again, it's hard for someone to leave their abuser. And I know there will be people that'll call bullshit and that they say, hey, in my shoes, I would have driven away. Hey, I hear you, but have you ever been married for a year? Have you ever been pushed off a cliff by your significant other? And have you, ever been in the situation that you could get away, but you turned back? I mean, you don't know these situations until you're in it. Hindsight, and you can always Monday night quarterback. You don't know, sister, until you're in the situation. And this time around, I saw that more. She, of course, turns around, and you have this very fun final act of course, wife versus wife. And it's very well done. I like some of the sequences. Granted, again, there are scenes where Brittany Allen can easily kill her, doesn't do it. I know it irks people, rubs them the wrong way. And there's a very nice fight scene, tussle scene. It's well directed by Colin Minihan. I thought it was a very much more mature movie and very good cinematography in this thing, as the camera has some interesting POVs and movement around the house. I liked that stuff. And then you get to the very, very finale, which, again, more spoilers here. You get to the very finale where, of course, Hannah Emily Anderson does win. You're like hitting yourself in the head, like, oh, why did she go back? God damn it, you could have got away and been fine. She does. Hannah Emily Anderson pushes her off the cliff again. You're like, oh my God, this is so sad. But Hannah Emily Anderson goes back to the house to take her insulin shot. She's feeling sick. She's diabetic. She takes her insulin shot, and of course, Brittany Allen has like a pre-recorded video saying, hey, if you're watching this, I'm probably dead, but you are too. And she shows that she puts like peroxide into the fucking, what would have been her insulin shot. And just the look on Hannah Emily Anderson's face of like, oh my God, you got me with my fucking insulin. And I really liked some of the direction as she runs out of the house and she almost replays her whole life. This crazy psycho ginger bitch replays her entire life over. And you see the bear that she was discussing killing in the beginning. You see shots of her father. You see her whole life and how twisted and sick it was and how big of a moment it was at a young age, killing this creature and not feeling anything. That, I think, was what she was yearning for. She was yearning to feel. And because she could never feel, she could never be happy, sad, or mad or anything. She was just a psycho. And I like how that's directed. It's very beautifully visually done by the director. I like that stuff. And then, of course, we do get this very like unnecessary thing where we pan to Brittany Allen where we think she's dead at the bottom of the cliff. She couldn't have survived 2 cliff falls like Mick Foley, could she? You hear a breath and the movie ends. And you're like, what? She survived twice? That, I think, should have been taken out of the movie. I guarantee you they had 2 endings. And they probably were like, you know what? Let's let her live. Like, let's just be positive here because we were so downbeat with Extraterrestrial and Grave Encounters. I don't like that. I think it should have just, they both died. They killed each other. And, the other girl never felt. She never got to feel for killing anything. And I thought that was a well done story. It would have been a perfect ending. That extra breath at the end didn't work for me. But I really like the acting in this. I think Hannah Emily Anderson especially did great. Brittany Allen, I would say this is her best performance too. I really like the selling that she does in this movie. I think she just did a wonderful job. I really like this movie. A story of the deconstruction of a couple. The story of did you really love me? No, I didn't. I'm a crazy bitch. I'm sorry, and there is no sorry there. I'm just saying it because I felt fucking bad. But I really like this movie. A really good cat and mouse game. Really good music. The score is entirely done by Brittany Allen, of course, and I think she did a great job here. Really good music. The roll, demon, roll, demon, roll. There's a demon inside. I liked that song. I thought it fit the movie quite well. And I thought from top to bottom, this is his most mature film. Like, you definitely see this guy has grown since Grave Encounters to a more, amateurist type of idea to a very much more serious and philosophical type of movie with, what keeps you alive. I really enjoy this movie. I would come in probably with my highest score. I would say an 8 out of 10. I really like this movie. I would say it's the best of his 4 movies to this date. To answer Sean's question, yes, it is an IFC midnight movie. That's what it was. I saw it in the theater, actually. Really cool. But let me go back to the top of the comments. I'm sorry about that. I think we were here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We were here. Oh, Aiden. Yeah, for real. You got great minds think alike. Saw this, didn't know anything about the movie or director, wasn't a fan. I can understand that. Totally can understand that. The poster is just a mysterious vibe to it. I would love to buy that one sheet. Like, that's a really beautiful fucking one sheet, in my opinion. That's what horror one sheets are all about, man. Clever ending. See, I thought the ending, like the insulin stuff was good, but she survived that fall twice, like very unrealistic. She survived it even once, but you have to suspend some disbelief, I suppose. Just, I don't know, there's a limit. Hannah Emily Anderson would be a great choice to play Poison Ivy. I agree completely. She was in the X-Men movie, the Dark Phoenix movie, as Jean Grey's sister. She's also in that. Beautiful lady. I think she did I would say this is her best performance. I really like that. Our man sings. Well, I mean, Connor, this is your first night in the graveyard. So you getting introduced to me. I hope I made a good first impression, singing and talking about the zombie small pee-pee. So, it is what it is. Go and check it out. I think you'd really like it. It's definitely his most, like I was saying, his most mature film. I think you dig it, Mateo. I'd really like to hear your thoughts. You were eating my ginger pussy for a year. Well, that's what happens. Hey, man, imagine that happening. Like, I could never fucking imagine that. Like, listen, I've had my heart broken. It feels horrible. I've never been married for a year plus and then been pushed off a cliff by my significant other. Like, and then told, oh yeah, I was with you for your life insurance. Like, what? Like, holy, like I would be in a clinical depression, man. I'd have to be checked into an institution if that fucking happened to me. That's just like crazy. So I get the range of emotions and I get why she's not necessarily thinking straight or thinking the most smart, because your emotions get in the way and you cannot control that. that's what makes her human, and that's what keeps her alive. This is a great little thriller. Watched it in the crave during the shutdowns in 2020, and yeah, lots of twists and quite solid acting all around. I like it too. I really do. Ryan Larkin's in the house. He was a production assistant on my short film, of course, Down by the Bay, which will be dropping next month. I'm very excited for that. But Ryan, always good to see you, man. This sounds awesome. I think you'd love it, T. I really think you'd love it. This is an IFC movie. Yes, I have to answer that. It's an IFC midnight movie. It Stains the Sands Red and What Keeps You Alive sound amazing and up my alley. I think you'd like it, man. I think you'd like both. I think you'd like It Stains the Sands Red a lot. Like, I totally could see you being like, this film's fucking underrated as fuck. Okay, I thought so. I remember seeing this in FYE a long time ago. Does it have this cover on the DVD/Blu-ray? I'd be interested because I definitely need to pick this up. It's worth a watch, Sean, for sure. Got some good gory bits too. Yeah, it has a little bit of everything. It's a damn good horror movie, and to me, his best movie. Like when I watched all four of these again, I was like, you know what? What Keeps You Alive is his best movie. I think it's really good. And again, I'm very excited to see where he goes from here. And I'm very happy to have shine a light on his entire career. This is a fun show. Again, more brief show, but again, I am hoping that people check these movies out and give it a shot because I think he is a really cool up and coming filmmaker. And I'd like to see what he'd do next. After all four of his movies, when I saw him, I was like, can't wait to see what he does next. And he has yet to really disappoint me to a disliking a movie or whatever, that is. I definitely really like Colin Minihan, and I think he's a cool guy. Seems like a very nice man, cool interview. He really loves Brittany Allen. I like watching them interview together. They have a nice chemistry and they make a good couple, in my opinion. And, so this was a lot of fun. If people have, catching the replay, check this out and have seen any of these movies, let me know what you think. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on any of these movies, how you'd rank them if you've seen all four. I'd probably go What Keeps You Alive, Grave Encounters, It Stains the Sand Red, and then, of course, probably Extraterrestrial at the bottom. But Grave Encounters and It Stains the Sands Red could be flipped. I think they're right there, 7.5. They're right in that ballpark. Very good movies, and I think Colin Minihan will only get better as time goes on. I'm kind of excited about that. And Grave Encounters has me interested, too. Well, you know what? We're ending a little bit earlier than usual, so maybe you guys can go check it out. If not, no worries. But I'm happy that I could shine some light on this director. What Keeps You Alive only on the Graveyard. We'll get there. I guess I'll do a brief show promotion for next week now that we've wrapped this. Of course, next week we will discuss George Romero's career from 1990 to 2000. We will have George Romero expert and great friend Alpha Romero on the show. Super excited to have him on. He's a really nice guy, very insightful, very funny, just a cool guy. Really, really like him. And I've been wanting to have him on the show ever since I met him. I was like, dude, I've got to have him on the show and do a Romero episode. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about everything he directed. So it's only 3 movies. It's only, of course, Two Evil Eyes, The Dark Half, and Bruiser. That was all he did in that 10-year span. But also all the stuff that he didn't get to do. Of course, from Pet Sematary to, of course, the Resident Evil movie to, the Twilight of the Dead or the Fourth Dead movie that he wanted to do in the 90s. They didn't fund it. We're going to be talking all that whole 10-year period, the ups, the downs, what he did, what he didn't do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So all George Romero fans, I'm super excited for that show, super excited to have Alpha on. And then, of course, the following week, top 5 David Lynch movies with Mernsey. Mernsey's going to be on the show, and he's going to be giving his top 5 Lynch films. Super excited about that. I may know the list already, but you don't, so stay tuned for that. And then the week after that, rounding out September, will be the Evil Dead ranking show where Dana, the Evil Dead chick, who better to get on an Evil Dead show than the Evil Dead chick, and Mr. AJ Zitro will be on. We will go through Dana's rankings of the Evil Dead series, her favorite movie, of course, the original film. So a spoiler alert of what her number 1 is, but she is the Evil Dead chick. I mean, it's quite obvious what her favorite one is. So we'll have her on for that to round up September. So it should be a lot of fun. The next 3 weeks we'll have guests, and we're already planning the Rocktober, Shocktober, October schedule. Super excited about that. And I will let you guys know that whole schedule once I have it completed. So everybody, thank you so much. Let's click on some comments before we go. Great stream. Can't wait for next week. Texas man, thank you so much for the support as always. I appreciate it. I really am humbled by your support. I love Bruiser so much. Well, so do I. And we're going to be reviewing that. That will cap the show next week. So I'm excited for that. Have a good weekend and take care, everybody. Sean, thank you so much for the support as always. Let's see. Terry, good night all. Thank you so much, T. Bruiser is really good. Very excited to shine some light on Bruiser. Bye, everybody. All right, everybody. So cheers to you. Cheers to Mr. Colin Minihan. Mernsey says, awesome, crushing it, Grande. Awesome show. Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much. I appreciate the kind words as always. Again, if you're catching the replay, comment down below. Let me know your favorite Colin Minihan joint. Let me know if you've seen all 4. If you want to rank them, go ahead. And if you're excited to see what he's got to do next, Mateo, give me one of these. Cheers, my friend. Always good to see you. And we will catch you next time. Only, should we show up the shirt? Only on the Graveyard. Too sweet, peace, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody. Cheers to a wonderful weekend, and Colin Minihan.